my wife was to ask me, am I looking fat? I will always have a single answer, right? Because that FUD will, what we say, fear, uncertainty, doubt, what that reaction will be, will always put me in a very difficult situation. And that's how I typically see how security has been kind of seen and reacted to in the environment around. Now, when we talk about cloud computing, let me throw two questions to you. Today, if you want to live in a house and you're just 1 year out of college and you got a family, you want to live in a house, what do you do? And you don't have all that money, what do? You take up a place on rent because somebody else builds the house, somebody else put all the infrastructure in place. You're just going to live there for 1 year, 2 years till you have the capability, maybe if you want to buy. But you don't have to worry about property tax and many other different things that come doing that. Similarly, if you want to go from Bhubaneswar to Konark, what do? And you're a young guy, you don't have anything. You take a bus, maybe 30 rupees or maybe 40 rupees, that's all you need to buy, you need to put in to get to A to B, rather than buying a 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 3 lakh, or sorry, Tata Nano, maybe 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 1.10 lakh thing. The whole point about cloud computing is that it really optimizes your task in terms of you use it only for what you want to do and you pay as you use it. Now, when we do this action of using cloud computing to do a certain function, we tend to, and this has been a very common thing, we tend to ignore the complexity that it actually presents and the new shift or the new change that has come in technology. I mean, our attitude generally is that we'll tackle it when it hits us. Let that incident come and we'll tackle that incident, move on. Then the next incident will come, we'll tackle that and then move on. And that's how it's been a reactive approach towards taking up a technology and then facing certain mishaps and then forming an opinion about this. So what I really feel that, a lot of people actually use fear, uncertainty and doubt kind of elements to actually scare customers into buying things. But at the same time, if we as customers, when we go out to buy a new phone or when we go out to buy a car, I know my father, he would have probably researched some 20 cars before he bought a car and he would have known every little piece about that car. But that same man, my father, if he was to buy a computer, he'll come to me like, I don't know anything about it, I'm not willing to invest in it. And that's what happens here, is that we tend to, that's too complex, I won't do it. But in our day-to-day things, when I leave my home, I will tug on the lock and see, is it locked or not. But when I walk away from my computer, I won't even look back to see whether I've locked it or not. So it's a huge shift in like, you mentioned, it's a security in mind, it's a culture, it's a thing that has to be in your mind. It's a way that you have to see how your traditional actual physical life today can actually transform, you can just pose that entire thing to what you're doing in the online world today. So, number one point that I would like to make is that understanding the cloud and what you're doing, in the way we go about doing things in our regular day-to-day life is probably the foundation for understanding your security requirements also. What you're doing, what data you're placing, how you're exchanging, where it is going to go, how long it's going to exist, all that when you understand really well, given your business requirements, you will understand your security requirements. And second is that the skill, if you don't have it, hire the right skill. If you don't hire the right skill, you will always end up with incidents, and that's what happens. And then you only tend to get scared when somebody comes and tells you that more incidents will happen, more downtime will happen, and then you buy some expensive technology which may just about 20% meet your requirement. So understand your business, understand your problems, your risks that you have, hire the right skills to actually solve these problems that you have. And last thing, a very important point that was made is that the weakest link in security, is people. You may have the most robust systems all around, thousands of crores spent on it, but if your people don't understand security, it's as good as nothing there. So raising your organization's security awareness is a key task that's something that should be taken up, and very important in the cloud perspective, because now your employee is sitting at home, his employee is sitting in a cafe, he's sitting in a cyber cafe, or he's sitting on a ship or a plane, he's accessing your data. Your environment boundaries have kind of disappeared. There are no boundaries, it's a boundaryless scenario. So he must understand security much better. I mean, like a simple aspect like I'm reading confidential email. Is my neighboring passenger who's sitting on the aeroplane, is he doing shoulder surfing and reading my email? I should be aware of such little facts. So end user education is really important. So with these 3 points, I would really like to say that cloud is complex, but it can be understood. And you have the skills there today which can actually address all the issues which are there in the thing, and with the right mix of partnership in terms of infrastructure giving that trustworthiness, as well as people themselves practicing safe, secure, and reliable computing, we can all actually have a very secure and a productive cloud computing environment.
So we had different points of view. I will maybe raise a couple of questions and we'll discuss, then we can take more questions from the audience. My first question is from an individual point of view. I'm not talking from a company or a corporate point of view. We will talk about that a little later. Should I put all my data on the cloud, or should I be putting all my data on my personal storage, right? Anirudh gave a very beautiful presentation about how you can save your own data on your own PC. Even if it gets lost, nobody will be able to steal the data. But suppose, let's say I have an option of putting it in the Dropbox or some such service, versus carry all my data in a USB drive and things like that. So if I have to put my data in the cloud, what are the security concerns and how we can mitigate some of those security concerns? Throw the question over to anyone.
So I'll take the first stab at it. When you look at data, there are 3 very important things that you need to consider, and that's what we call the CIA: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you put it in Dropbox or SkyDrive kind of service, your availability needs are met. You can access it from anywhere. But at the same time, your confidentiality requirement is actually lowered. You don't know whether some rogue employee of Dropbox or the SkyDrive it could be reading it, or if it gets hacked, somebody can steal that particular data because it's not in your control. And then it could be that data that you put, it can be changed by a rogue application. So when you're looking at all these things and you measure from confidentiality, integrity, and availability, what is important to me? If all 3 are important, given these, then you take appropriate measures of ensuring these 3 are kind of enforced, whether the data is staying in your laptop, your PC, or it's in the cloud. So if you're putting it in Dropbox or SkyDrive and confidentiality is very important for you, then you will use encryption, which basically means the keys are with you, not with the hacker, not with the company that you're putting it, and you put the data. So for them, it is just dumb blob which is sitting there on their infrastructure, which you can access from anywhere. Even if their infrastructure gets compromised, somebody hacks it, they can download it, but they can't do anything with it because it's encrypted. And therefore your confidentiality and as well as integrity, because if you're using right hashing techniques, you can maintain that. And the third, the last piece, which is availability, because Dropbox, SkyDrive is available anywhere on the earth, you can do it. Then the same thing is when it's on your laptop, then you will look at again the CIA aspect and see what could possibly threaten my laptop. Fire, water can fall on it, hard disk can get corrupted, because of which availability gets done, or somebody will steal it. So again, you use a BitLocker kind of a thing to completely encrypt the volume there. You use hashing algorithms to ensure that the integrity is maintained, so you can check whether let's say a malware person or anybody has changed or not. And from availability point of view, that probably is at risk because it's dependent on where your laptop is and if you're in front of it or not. So that's the understanding that we need to have, and then you can take a call on the model that you would like to adopt. So very rightly said by Anirudh, it's all about the triad of CIA. Along with that, first you'll have to prioritize what kind of data you actually want to be highly available wherever you are and whenever you are. That is one thing. It's like you don't need your songs everywhere you go, but you need some of your files. You might not need your college files everywhere, but you might need some of your personal files everywhere. So prioritizing the data accordingly. And then another question comes when we talk about cloud is how much you trust. And believe me, in security it's all about whom you trust and how much you trust. So you have to strike a right balance of it. Maybe putting all the eggs in one basket might not be a right solution. So you can be doing a mix of 2 or more storage solutions, using them to keep your data online. But the final and important thing is the encryption of the data, and that too not depending on the encryption by the provider, by the cloud provider. It should be handled by you, by your own. And the best way to do that, use your own encryption and put the encrypted file. The keys are still with you. You can have a backup of those keys in different locations you want to save it. But it's like you're keeping both lock and key very separately in a very different area. So hence your key is not accessible if your data is there, or if the key is accessible, the data is not there. So you have to strike a right balance in usability as well as the importance of the data.
Just to give an example, we all have experienced how helpless we feel when you lose a mobile. All the contacts you have stored just gone, and you again painstakingly start collecting all information. Therefore, in terms of need and desirability, it is always desirable that certain information has to be stored elsewhere as a backup, and maybe using the computer interface. The same mobile, the contact data can be stored in your computer, or maybe that file could be again stored in your email, mail it to yourself. Sometimes I do it personally when I need a file or some information. Suppose I need it, I'm going on tour to some place, I just mail it to myself a file. So in terms of desirability and need, there is always a need, but the question is security. So therefore, proper security measures also have to be adopted to see that what personal information is very private in nature, they cannot be, they should not be fall into the wrong hands and made use of in a wrong way.
About encryption tool is useful when we're talking about the file level kind of a data, right? Where that chances of getting lost or chances of getting hacked is very high. So I think that's an option we need to look at into the mix and match, and definitely the encryption tools will help in handling that. If you talk about structure kind of a data, then I don't think we have much challenge to handle on the cloud and platform.
I do agree with Mr. Das that we need to have a proper balance of keeping data in our own place or in its cloud. But we need to segregate, prioritize that which are the most important data and which are the things. We should start taking risks, create a habit of putting data. It's a technology evolution. Day by day, new thing will come up, definitely. As you rightly say, challenges will be there, we'll come up with a different technology. So we should start prioritizing something, putting there on the cloud and experiencing that taking risk on that, and also have our secure data also here. It's like same time you should have a balance of the both.
One more question. One of the big advantages of the cloud is you get software as a service. For example, a very small company can subscribe to a very expensive ERP and pay very little and start using a very expensive solution without paying too much. So once again, the question is, should we, your transactional data, your all this data, should we be putting on a cloud and use the software provided by a third party to manage that, manage my business, right? I talk from an individual's perspective, and I'm talking about a small organization's perspective. We can't really afford to build all the infrastructure that we're talking about and decides to use the cloud.
Yes, you are right now. If you see in future, coming days, everything going to be services. Software is also going to services. People are they are not going to invest as a capital investment buying the software. So they will be using as a services. The beauty of that SaaS model is that you will have the option to switch over. that one of service provider to the other service provider. Again, the security issue, actually if you talk about my organization, we have a small ERP, an ETL software. We are planning to put it into the SaaS model so that people using any branch can also have this software has a benefit of that. So definitely it's a good idea, but definitely there's a question. I understand. I face a lot of questions from when talking about this to different people in small entrepreneurs, in shops also. They query about the security of the data, and in particular in India, people don't like to share the data, the information, because of different statutory issues and a lot of things are there. But I am sure that with the time, technology will evolve and that issue can solve.
So it's a wonderful, very exhilarating panel discussion. To wrap up, we will have only single question for everyone, sir. Okay, can you have single question, and the answer has to be in the single sentence answer. So we're talking about, because time is going up, this cloud discussion has to go on hours and hours. Okay, this cannot complete in 40-45 minutes or 2 hours. So, yeah, so it's a very interesting thing. So wrap up thing, cyber security. Can I have the one question? Oh, was a very interesting question where Microsoft HP can address. So we were talking about the cyber security and cloud computing. Here we have the partner ITF. So how this cyber security or cloud computing, whatever we talk about it, what this IT hardware companies going to pay the mileage? Can I have the question from the ITF? Anyone from ITF is there? Mr. Lalani? Anyone? I think they have got the answer. Okay, so somebody is there? Mr. Raj, you have any question?
One like a small enterprise used to put his data, the complete data to the clouds. So what is the security level, like if it is stored in somewhere else in a cloud, right? So in a terrorist this thing or a natural calamity, so who will be the responsible person, because they also have that insecurity with them. So
you mean to say how data is secure, right?
So if I just provider who is hosting the data or keeping the data in the cloud, take care of threats like terrorism, natural calamities, kind of things, which can actually bring the whole data center down and also bring your data down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the essentials premise of cloud computing is that it's never really one place. You think you're talking to the Singapore data center, but you're not, because actually all these data centers are geo-linked and geo-balanced there. At any given point of time, the service that you have bought, your data will be always multi-located. So even if Singapore comes down, or like what happened when the Japanese earthquake, the tsunami happened in Japan, within about 4 days, 5 days, Microsoft moved the entire Japanese data to the other regions and made it available continuously, just in case the situation escalated. So basically, in cloud computing, all data centers which are made available to host your data, keep your data, are geo-balanced. There's a disaster recovery, very, very strong disaster recovery plan in place. And we're talking about not just that there is electricity. You have to have electricity sources coming from 2 different service providers, water from 2 different service providers, and there are hundreds of parameters which are checked. But even if then there is a security breach or an event like you mentioned, all this data is also replicated, and you will not even get to know whether one data center is not working or 2 are not working. It will just transparently work. That's the premise on which not just the Microsoft data center, but any other cloud service provider generally they work. But then again, you have the choice, like some people do, that I want Europe only routing of my data. No data should go outside Europe, or no data should go out of Singapore. Then you are limiting your availability parameter by saying that if something happens in Asia in that large scale, that both Singapore, Philippines and other places are knocked down, India is knocked down, then that means yes, your data you will probably see an outage there. But on a global scale, you will not.
Any other question? Second last.
Odisha Telecom Development Forum. So we are working for last few years in telecom sector, ICT sector. So my submission to the House, cyber security and cloud computing is that I understand. What I understand, I can give a statement, small statement. Honest thinking produced honest action. This is one, and I do not understand one thing. When the TRAI restricted the promotion of business of telecom operators by disturbing to the customers for these value-added services. So now I find unknown calls from different telecom companies coming as unknown. When I ran to them, it is not, they don't receive. So how for the cyber security and cloud computing is going to play a role for not disturbing the customers in telecom sector, why the operators are putting customers by sending an unknown number through the mobile?
Anyone can address the
outcome of the complete concept of VoIP. The telecom has converted to data packets at the end of the day.
correct.
And what has happened that when a telecom company is sending you a number called as unknown, it's a clear indication that the telecom company themselves has not understood from where the call has originated. And actually it's a data packet which is coming onto their telecom network, which is converting as a phone call to the end customer. So cloud or no cloud, it's a thing which has come via internet and via the promotion of VoIP itself. Today there are free services online where you can go and give number of say Manmohan Singh on the other side and your number, and then call and then show someone that yes, see, Manmohan Singh is calling me. That is very well possible because it's end of the day it's all IP. It's not anything to do with the cloud computing. The way to tackle these kind of issues are, now everybody has to be at the same level when it comes to understanding of the same data traffic coming onto them. So many service providers have started showing short codes in spite of unknown numbers, and actually it's not double routed normal telecom communication where you can call back that number. It's basically originating from a computer. It's not a telephone where you can call back and talk to the person.
My feeling is that
It's originating from a PSTN number or a VoIP-based number. In the IT scenario, it can all be traced down right down to the last handset or the device from which the call originated. So that is the piece that the IT or the cloud can actually help in doing. The other help that we need is from the government, from the organizations, where we need to have very stringent and very high punishable acts. So if, like for example, the TRAI put in do not call, now I get calls from UK and Singapore. I get SMSs from UK and Singapore numbers because they are not blocked. Now if I report that this organization XYZ shop is sending me this SMS routed via Singapore, and then the government and the TRAI and all these put together very stringent regulations and very high penalties to these organizations that you were caught doing this, here's a proof of the SMS, pay $1 million or whatever, that kind of thing. Make it like how we, like in India it's 100 rupees fine for crossing the line, and this thing. In US it's $103. Make it prohibitive for people to even think about doing this. That's the way to actually tackle it. Next time you receive a call for, let's say, some shampoo or some advertising of some medical policy, whatever policy, you report that. The government should, or the whole process should have a place where you can put your request, it will be validated, IT will help track it down to that person, and the policies and things which have been put in place will punish them and make it prohibitive and make it, make the other guy think 10 times before he even thinks about doing that, sending that SMS, making that call to you again. That's the way I really feel we will be able to curb this.
Thank you. Other persons are already on the queue for questions. So our panelists will be here only, okay, for some time. So I would say it's a wonderful panel discussion and it's really exhilarating and enlightening indeed. So what a powerful panel discussion we had. I'm sure besides escalating issues, we're able to come out with the solutions also. Here many vendors are also there and IT partners are also there. And they would like to interact, like how could they could value it, they can take the technology forward to the SME and enterprise segments, also to the government, and we have the very good big campus also coming up, triple IT Bhubaneswar, and many things are coming up. We have so many investors also here, we have foreign delegates also here, so they would like to have